And a good day to you, Jerry Usher, Debbie Georgianni, settling in here for the next 55 minutes or so. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And what we try and do on this program is take kind of a deeper look, a different perspective, a unique look upon certain things that touch upon many of our lives. And I guess you could say, Debbie, for a lot of people, Take Two is maybe a second entering into marriage or something. You know, the first marriage may not have worked out. An annulment has been applied for and granted, or sadly, in some cases, people will attempt a second marriage before an annulment is granted by the church. So we're going to talk about all of these issues today. We title the show, My Marriage Didn't Work Out, Now What? Because Debbie, sometimes through human weakness and mistakes that we make and sometimes regret, people find themselves in difficult situations like this, and the church has to be there to provide pastoral care for all people. So
that's right, to support us and to be around us and to hold us up while we're going through that. And also we put on take2show.com a little bit about today's show topic. And actually, Jerry, I wanted to add the sentence, my marriage may be over, but life still needs to go on. And I think that is really, really important. And I know we're bringing on an expert today to help us. And I'm so excited because I absolutely love her. I've watched her for many, many years. She's awesome. And it really does help us to have experts in the field who have studied it, who have lived through life experiences. And it can really help all of us walk through, because I think our listeners know, Jerry, I went through the annulment process. My 20-year marriage, ceased and I went through the annulment process, and I'm married to Marty now, and very happily married. But the church is there for me and was there for me, and so it is important for us to discuss that. So today's the topic of My Marriage is Over, What's Next? We want to hear from you. Like Jerry said, this is a conversation, and you drive the show at 1-800-585-9396. So grab your cup of coffee or grab your iced tea, sit down with us, and really, really take part in this conversation.
All right, again, it's 1-800-585-9396. If you have been divorced, maybe you're wondering about the annulment process. Perhaps you've attempted a second marriage anyway without the benefit of an annulment. Maybe you're wondering, what's the annulment process all about? What does it mean? Where do I stand in the church?
Right.
If I'm divorced, have remained single, if I'm divorced and have married again, where do I stand? We can talk about questions of sacraments and things like this. 1-800-585-9396. We have Rose Sweet, who is going to join us right now. Rose actually lives in the same area that I do, not too far away.
She's a neighbor of yours, isn't she?
Yeah, in the Coachella Valley of Southern California. And for many, many years, Rose has really, I believe, had a blessing, an anointing put on her life to be able to articulate these things that we're talking about today in ways that are very, very non-threatening, very pastoral, very compassionate, because she too has been through the divorce and annulment and remarriage process. So, Rose, it is a blessing and a joy to bring you on to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Good morning.
Well, you guys certainly know how to build up an ego, that's for sure. But, I could say the same of you, and I know we all share that passion. And we really have a heart for our brothers and sisters in the church and beyond. So I'm happy to be in the vineyard with you.
Well, Rose, we've tried our best to kind of lay out what it is that people can call in and talk about today. But, you are with the people all the time, speaking at conferences, meeting with people individually, giving missions, providing hope and encouragement. So who are the types of people that you would like to interact with here on the program today and to provide some help for?
Well, I know this sounds, kind of weird, but I would say anybody. Because I think all of us have been affected by the rampant rates of divorce in our culture. Maybe somebody's listening whose adult children are going through a divorce right now, and they don't know how to respond to it. Or, maybe it's a friend, a sibling or something, and you don't agree with what the church teaches, or you think it's ridiculous. So, yes, we want to help the separated and divorced or remarried person, but also their family and friends, because it really does affect everybody.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Again, our phone number, 1-800-585-9396. Topic today, my marriage didn't work out. Now what? Folks, let me tell you, Rose, again, as I said, has been through a divorce and an annulment. Debbie, same thing. I'm the oldest son of divorced parents. This is something that unfortunately really touches upon many of our lives. And Rose, I want to ask you, do you find that it does kind of knock people off balance or off course in terms of how they view the church and their faith, and they feel kind of like, well, what can I do now? What can I participate in as a Catholic Christian?
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. First of all, the average Catholic isn't that, educated in what the church really teaches about love, sex, marriage, divorce, remarriage, reception of Holy Communion in these cases. And still there's lots of these myths and misunderstandings that are floating around, like annulment makes my kids illegitimate, or, I'm going to be excommunicated. And so we need to get out there and help educate people to the truth and the beauty of what the church really teaches. Otherwise, they will leave. You've heard this before, that in the big mega Protestant churches, the majority of those people are ex-Catholics. And when you talk to them about why they left the church, most of the time it has to do with some kind of marriage or remarriage issue. So we got a lot of work to do.
Rose, you've been doing this for many years on relationships, and I just wanted, by the way, you're phenomenal, and I agree with Jerry. You have a God-given gift in this area of ministry, and I agree with you. I've talked to a lot of those people that have left the Catholic Church and have felt welcomed in these feel-good churches that are of a Christian denomination, and I can understand that, because having gone through it, Rose, I will tell you, and you and I have talked about this, when you first go through a divorce, you do feel like you're on the outside of the circle looking in, and it's a very uncomfortable feeling. And
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's horrible because it's all. First of all, you've been rejected by your spouse. Even if you're the one who had to file for civil divorce, there was some kind of deep rejection going on for years, usually, right? So you've got rejection there, and then you have rejection within your own family, and then your in-laws. You could be getting rejection there, and then you go to the church and you get rejection there. It's like it's too much to take for a lot of people.
Right. Exactly. And like you said, to really educate people and make people aware and let people realize there's a lot of us that have gone through this journey. There's a lot of us that have found comfort and healing and hope again. And so it's important for us to support each other and hold each other up, and to allow each other to have these healthy discussions, so that we're not afraid when that situation comes, and we don't run to another place that just feels better to us. And so that's why I love the work you do. When I was married the first time when I was married, and you were in ministry many years ago when I was a youth minister, I saw your work, and you've authored, I think, 10 books. 10 books I think you've done on relationship. And I watched you and I thought, wow, this gal has got it. She's got it, because you just spoke to the heart of, and you're so real and authentic with people, and it's so easy to talk to you. And I think that's really important for people. So I'm hoping that today it's already happening, Rose, the phone lines start filling up, and we have a great, vibrant discussion on this, so we all walk away just a little bit better, with a better understanding and a little bit better feeling about ourselves and the church. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, and it's obvious that, it's a topic like this. It's a sensitive one. It's a personal one. And there may be some hesitancy on your part to call in. You can use an anonymous name if you want. But please, the one thing Debbie and Rose and I want you to understand, and hopefully this is already well understood about this program, and that is, like a topic today, if you call in and say, well, I'm divorced and I'm wondering what to do, you're not going to have 3 people coming at you from different angles saying, well, get the annulment paperwork and see the tribunal. And, we're going to talk to you about your life, because right now what's important to you, we need to go through the legal things with the church and I'll try to get things situated. But Rose, I love the fact that, people sometimes see you as just sort of the divorce expert, but you have a phrase, what is it, putting your religion into your relationships. Yeah, and through that part of your ministry, Rose, you really show people, how to understand these realities better and just how to have a more intimate relationship with Jesus. That's really where it all has to start.
Well, you reminded me of what we used to hear about Mother Teresa, that these poor people in India would be covered with sores and starving to death, and Mother Teresa would not give them a lecture on the Gospel of John. She would first tend to their wounds and hold them and love them and feed them, and then when they were well enough, she'd introduce them to the good news of Jesus Christ. So that's what we all want to do too, is, you've been through a tough time, or you don't know what to do, or you know what, you're angry. Mm-hmm. You are angry. Bring all that, like people brought that to Christ and his disciples, and we want to receive that with honor and love for you. And we want to hear you. We want to listen. We want to affirm what's good, and then we want to help you go deeper, because there is some good news at the end of all of this.
Amen to that. Well said, Rose. Well, we've got Rose Sweet with us. She is a Catholic author and conference speaker. You've heard her on radio, seen her on EWTN. She's amazing, and we have her for the entire hour, so we want to hear from you. We're going to take our first break, though. When we come back, we're going to hit the phone, so jump in at 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about my marriage is over. Now what? Where do I go next? What do I do? Life has to go on. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Something amazing is happening on EWTN. One wildly dynamic speaker and a team of young missionaries are on a cross-country road trip, spreading their message of hope in Christ. Their passion is awakening youth to the power of God's love. It's energetic, honest, affirming, like nothing you've seen on TV before. You're Amazing with Justin Fatika. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
Get an insider's look at the latest information from EWTN. Sign up for Wings, EWTN's weekly email newsletter. Get the latest information about live events, special features, and guests. Connect with EWTN on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just go to EWTN.com and click on the Wings link to sign up. Don't miss a minute of all that's happening at EWTN. Get your wings today.
Hello, this is Archbishop Charles J. Chaput, the Archbishop of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
This is Matt Swaim.
And Anna Mitchell from the Sunrise Morning Show.
This is Father Mitch Pacwo. Have a blessed Easter from all of us at EWTN Radio.
Take two with Jerry and Debbie. We try and take a different look, maybe a look at things that, we haven't even thought about. Perhaps you haven't even thought about in your life as well. My marriage is over, now what? That is what we are talking about with Rose Sweet, our guest. And Rose, right before we go to calls, we mentioned your ministry. Give us a quick overview of your website, the web address, what kind of resources people will find there, and the fact that you're available to come out and speak at parishes and conferences and so forth.
Thank you for that. Yes, everything is at rosesweet.com. Easy to remember. Even I can't forget it. And I do love to give parish missions and retreats. And I have messed up my own relationships in the past, and maybe today I am too. You never know. So many times I've learned the hard way that really the answer to all our relationship problems, whether it's divorce or parent-child conflicts or even conflict at work, or even with your pastor or your co-workers in ministry, the answer is to put our religion and what we know about our faith, to put that right into the relationships that we have, instead of just leaving our, religion on the dining room table where the Bible is, or on Sunday at Sunday Mass. We need to integrate and bring all those beautiful truths and the grace that God gives us through the sacraments into our relationships, and that's what will change the world.
Right. Rose, I have to share with you, with Mother Angelica's passing, I've been just glued to EWTN television and watching the her live classics shows from the late 90s. You just learn something new each time I've seen it for so many years on TV, but you learn something new. And in addition to that, they have some of the the shows, Father Robert Spitzer's shows on different topics, and one of them was suffering. And I thought about it for today's show, Rose. It was interesting because he was talking about how you just got to bring your basket of things that you're suffering with, if it's emotional pain from relationships, like you were saying, rejection, Rose, or something like that, just to literally dump your basket on Jesus's lap. And I loved that visual image of dumping a gigantic, like, wicker basket, like a laundry basket, on top of Jesus's lap and just saying, okay, here it is. And then step back and let God fill you with those graces and that ability to have Him communicate back and give us the mercy and grace and love and understanding that does come back. And Rose, if that's the one thing that I would love our listeners to take away with, and that is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is comfort and hope and joy again. And because so many people are stuck in that one place when it initially happens, and they don't know what to do with that emotional pain that they're in, and that bothers me so much, Rose. And I know you well enough that equally it bothers you as well.
It does, and I do have an article that somebody could download on my website, and it's called "On Redemptive Suffering." And it really does talk about we're not going to escape it ever. We want to. And guess what? We were not made for suffering. We were made for heaven. And hopefully, with God's grace, we'll get there. But suffering is part of life. So we can either let it bring us down and keep us there, or we can hold Jesus' hand tightly and walk through it and come out even stronger, even better. It reminds me, and I know, Debbie, Jerry, you've probably heard this about when you break a bone in your arm, and it heals.
Yep.
What does the doctor say now is the strongest part of that bone?
The part that broke.
The part that broke, because all these resources, all these little calcium deposits or whatever, rush to that injured site and build up around it. So I love that picture after a divorce, and it's God. It's hell. It's hell on earth. But God's grace, and hopefully people like us in the church, will rush around that wound and build it up so that you actually come out holier, healthier, stronger, able to love more deeply. It doesn't sound like it right now, but I know it happened to you, Debbie, and it happened to me too, so it's true.
Yep, we're living proof of it. Absolutely.
Faith, the role of faith and hope in all of that. All right, we got to get to your phone calls here. We do have a line open. Will you join us? We're talking about my marriage is over, now what? If you find yourself, maybe you're still even in a marriage, but there's kind of these looming dark clouds of separation or divorce. I know Rose Sweet would be happy to talk with you about that. If the divorce has already been taken care of and now you're single again, or you're wondering, can you ever be married again? What's the status of my children? Can I receive communion and the other sacraments? Am I a bad Catholic for having done this? We're talking about this just from a real life, compassionate, empathetic standpoint. And the number for you to take part is 1-800-585-9396. Your takes always drive this program. And we're going to start with Sheila in Massachusetts, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Sheila. Good morning.
Good morning.
What can we do for you? How can Rose Sweet help you?
Well, I'm coming from a little bit of a different perspective. I, 29 years ago, married a man who was divorced. 9 years ago, I had a reversion in my faith and realized the issue there. And he started to go through the annulment process, and throughout that, things changed in regards to the tribunal and things. And so now he's struggling. He's struggling a great deal with the annulment process. Because of my reversion and my true love for the Eucharist, we have made choices in our marriage for me to be able to continue to receive. My question is this my fate? Where do I go from here? He's not a practicing Catholic, but I, of course, am.
Sheila, thank you for calling. What a beautiful testimony that you have, and I heard between the lines, made choices so that you can receive the Holy Eucharist. What a courageous and beautiful act that is. And I know it's very, very difficult, especially when you have a spouse who just doesn't understand. So I know you're struggling with a lot of issues. I hopefully, maybe after this show, if you want to reach out and contact me, I'd love to spend more time with you and help out if I can. But I'm suspecting that your husband, God love him, never had anybody who really deeply and clearly explained about his prior marriage or where he is now or your needs. Do you think that he understands really what's going on? Because why is he still struggling?
Had a wonderful priest in my parish who was my spiritual advisor, who has since passed away, who kind of was helping him through the process. He has since spoken to another parish priest, so he does understand the ins and outs of the process. He's struggling. We're close friends with his ex-wife. He, I think, is worried about rocking the boat. You know, he understands that the whole, old school thought of the children and all of that is truly old school and isn't the case, but he's the process.
Okay. You know, Sheila, you hit the nail on the head, and you sound like you're very intuitive and you know what's going on. Fear is always what grips all of us. When we're presented with facts and, like you said, the ins and outs, and we still can't move forward, it's because some kind of emotion, deep emotion, is like got us captive, and it's usually rooted in fear. So you're right. And I suspect in a lot of cases that there's still guilt, unresolved guilt and shame that's attached to all this. You know, and this stuff goes deep, doesn't it? And usually a divorce also exposes any issues that we've been dealing with all our lives. So we can't solve all the problems on a short phone call, but I would like to help you if I could, if you're interested in reaching out and getting a little more. But Sheila, how can we help you today? What's the hardest thing for you to be dealing with right now?
I think trying to help him through his struggle. And of course, it's my greatest desire that he realize the incredible faith. So it's really, how do I don't have animosity, I don't have upset at him, I have compassion and empathy, and
you have unmet deep longing. If you love this man and you understand our faith, you long deeply for him to be part of it and to open up to receive all that God has. And so what you're dealing with is what anybody in a marriage that they call it unequally yoked. In any marriage, when one spouse is not a believer or struggling, it's a huge weight for the other one. And so you're dealing with the divorce issues and the faith difference. So you're you're juggling a lot of balls at one time. I can help you. Call me after this, and let's see if I can help you help him in a way that honors his freedom and keeps you really tied closely to our Lord.
All right, Sheila, that we're coming up against the break, but that was, as Rose said, a beautiful call. You are dealing with a lot, but God wants freedom, peace, joy, happiness to come out of all of that. And you're doing the right thing. So please go to rosesweet.com and you can get in touch with Rose there. And when we come back, we're going to go to Teresa in Texas, Janice in Pennsylvania, and we have an open phone line talking about divorce, annulment, remarriage. How does life go on? 800-585-9396.
I'm Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. I'm in the cloister yard of Sancta Clara. Now, this is a monastery Mother Angelica spent her young years as a religious. In 1958, the nuns wanted a grotto to be built in this yard, this one here. She turned to some of the old boys she knew from the neighborhood in southeast Canton, some with a checkered history. 62 brick masons and carpenters came out here to build this grotto. From then on, they would be dubbed Angelica's Tonys. Italian workers would help Mother Angelica throughout her religious life as she built the network and later her shrine in Hansville. Stay with EWTN as we continue to celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Angelica.
Hello, I'm Doug Keck, host of EWTN's Bookmark. I wanted to mention a new book that I wanted you to check out in time for the Jubilee of Mercy. It's A Holy Year in Rome, the complete Pilgrim's Guide for the Jubilee of Mercy by our one and only Rome correspondent, Joan Lewis of Joan's Rome. And in this book, Joan takes you back in time for a look at the history of Jubilees and then brings you up to the present with a visit to the 7 pilgrim basilicas of Rome, 4 of which must be visited by pilgrims to obtain a Holy Year indulgence. You'll discover the treasures of Rome and the Vatican, and you'll learn all about the many interesting facts, such as the difference between a church, a basilica, the significance of the holy doors, architecture, liturgical customs, and much, much more, as only Joan can bring them to life. Available through the EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. It's A Holy Year in Rome, the complete Pilgrim's Guide for the Jubilee of Mercy by the one and only Joan Lewis. Check it out.
Thanks for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We're talking about my marriage is over. What is next? How do I move on? Life has to go on. So we have expert Rose Sweet with us. She's our guest today. She's a Catholic author and conference speaker. And Rose, we love having you because you're so gracious about offering to continue the conversation going with our listeners. And that's what Take Two is all about. We want to keep the conversation going. So thank you for offering your services to Sheila. But we're going to move right along to Teresa, who's listening to EWTN Radio in Texas. Hi, Teresa. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our special guest, Rose Sweet.
Hi, Teresa.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for taking my call. I am driving, so I will try and keep this short. I'm just wondering what resources, and I do have your web address, but to help my daughter who has just clammed up for 15 months now and is not comfortable talking about her husband and the father of 2 girls, 15, 14, to help understand what happened. And I'm just
Teresa,
trying right now
divorced?
to help her come out of this shell that she's in.
Teresa, this is Rose. Is she civilly divorced yet?
Not yet. It is still in a process.
Okay, so she's in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And here's another website. Hopefully it's easy to remember. Don't write it down because I don't want you to kill yourself. No. But it's CatholicsDivorce.com, and that's with an S, Catholics, plural, CatholicsDivorce.com. Tons of resources, articles about the kids, the ex, the church, all that other stuff, high emotions, anger, guilt, grief, depression, loneliness, fear, anxiety is all there, and she can read that in the privacy of her home or wherever she wants to do. And then you got to just wait. That's the hard thing for you. You got to love her and be okay with that uncomfortable place of her not opening up to you. I know you probably are dying to help her, but sometimes we're not the ones who can open up that locked door. God will bring somebody else maybe or some other way, and so we have to be patient, trust God, and just pray, 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 and then, keep your door open and loving. And don't pursue her too much. A lot of times I learned this the hard way. People clammed up around me because I was constantly wanting them to open up. I was pursuing, and then they were distancing. So if you just learn to stand still, which maybe you already are, just stand still in love and let her come to you when she's ready. And then maybe you'll be ready too. Does that help at all?
Phone messages or texts or what have you.
No, yes, yes, of course keep in touch, but not about the divorce. Don't even bring that up. You know, how are you? What'd you do today? Where are you going this weekend? Can I bring the kids over? I'll take the kids off your hands for the weekend or something. But don't bring up the divorce. Wait for her to be ready to bring that up for you. But you can go to that CatholicsDivorce.com website and poke around yourself.
Thank you.
Okay?
CatholicsDivorce.com.
Yeah. Teresa, before you hang up, Rose, I just want to jump in there because as Teresa was speaking, I was thinking of my own situation when I was going through and having family members and friends wanting to talk about my situation. And what you said, Rose, I think really it was great advice for Teresa because some of the greatest phone calls I got during the most mixed up time of when I was going through the divorce before the divorce actually happened, but going through the separation and everything, is when people would just call me and they didn't want to talk about the divorce. They didn't want to make plans with me. I just would have friends call me and said, "Hey, I just want to see. I'm going to get teary eyed." They said, "Hey, I was just thinking about you today. I just want to let you know that I said a prayer to God for you today." And, you know, that's all I needed, Rose, because I felt like I couldn't pray real well at that time. I needed others to hold me up in prayer. So I don't know if, Teresa, if that helps at all, but I liked it because it was like, there was no pressure on me.
That, you know, when we love somebody, we want to fix all their problems. It's not just men that are like that, you know, and we're uncomfortable when somebody's suffering. And I think that's part of the thing we all have to learn, how to stay in that place of discomfort and just really ourselves lean on the Lord and give it time.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good comment and good question that Teresa had, because I think that affects all of us. I mean, we have so many friends, family members going through emotional pain, suffering, different things. You know, how do we stay connected where they know we love them, we care about them, we do want to help them, but we don't want to be so intrusive that it's going to make them go into their cave and they don't want to come out, you know?
Right, and you know what? This is what I love about my putting your religion in your relationships. We always look to Christ for the answer for everything. And we see places in the gospel where he did that with people. He didn't, you know, when the rich young man walked away sad, Jesus didn't go chasing him down and giving him one more parable or a book to read. He let him go. And, you know, we could go off into a whole thing there, but Christ does show us a balanced way of dealing with people that we care about who are hurting.
All right, Teresa, thank you very much for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Here is our phone number. If you're listening to the program today and something has struck a chord with you, if you're in the divorce process, maybe you're wondering about an annulment, maybe you've got the same situation that one of our previous callers did. You are in an irregular marriage, and in order to receive the Eucharist, you have to abstain from intimacy and live really as brother and sister. What about the kids? What about the anger, the rejection you're going through? All of this stuff. These are human realities. They're human emotions, but God has something far better and greater for you than that. So if you want to talk about it, 1-800-585-9396. All right, we're going to go to Janice next in Glenside, Pennsylvania, listening to EWTN Radio on Holy Spirit Radio. Janice, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello.
Hello, Janice.
Hi. I just thought maybe I could, it might be helpful to some information that I went through. My second marriage, we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary, and but when my first marriage, the husband changed his mind, and I was devastated. I didn't want the divorce. The priest said maybe you should get a divorce, and then instead of putting money to a lawyer. And I found out there was some classes at Holy Family College for separated and divorced Catholics, and I began going to those classes, like a meeting once a week or so, and they would have speakers and that would have information pertaining to the situation that we're in, And then there was a Separated and Divorced Catholic Conference at the Sheridan Valley Forge, and Cardinal Bevilacqua was presiding, and he told us you're a very important part of the church, and there was classes there, so you could pick. There was a whole list of classes. You could pick what you wanted for throughout the day, and then they had like a dinner and then mass and or a mass and then a dinner or lunch maybe it was. But it was very helpful, those speakers and classes, because legally what you're supposed to do about your income tax and where you stand with receiving the sacraments and everything. And so and I went into a new relationship, and the classes that you pick will tell you, the red flags to look for, and then just it just was a really big help for me and we got when I met my husband right now, we got our annulments, and we were married in the church, and now we just went to Malvern for first Divine Mercy weekend, and a lovely Monsignor, John S.F., renewed our vows for us. I asked him to bless our marriage, and he said, "How about your vows?" So, we're very happy.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Janice. And you were so blessed back in the day. Obviously, this is 20 years ago, that you were able to find in your area these resources and the conferences that you went to, and the people who could help you. So a lot of people, sadly, don't know where to find that. So we're trying to help change that too. I appreciate that, Janice.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Janice, here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Really, that's the kind of story that we hope that would come out of, any situation that someone is going through, that there would be this sort of the silver lining or the happy ending.
Well, yeah, and I just wanted to echo what Rose was saying, that, Rose, I mean, there are some areas in the country that people have the resources, a lot of parish different organizations and ministries that are up and running, that can be of support in grief and divorce and all sorts of areas of our life. And then there's some that you really have to search out. That's why, again, Rose, I think it's important that people go to your website, and then you also suggested the other one, Catholics. You said Catholics with an S, CatholicsDivorce.com?
Right. There's tons of free resources there on every topic you can imagine. And it's all through a faithful Catholic perspective.
See, that's awesome. And then, of course, RoseSweet.com. Don't forget that, RoseSweet.com. Go ahead, Rose. I'm sorry.
I hope somebody, or I wish somebody would call in that said, I didn't get my annulment, or I can't, and what do I do now, and how do I have a happy, wonderful life without that? Because that's the reality, and we want to help those people too. The happy ending doesn't necessarily mean you got an annulment and you got remarried. Because ultimately we need to find our happy ending no matter what our life is like. Right.
Well said. Yeah, that's really good. So we've got a lot of calls, so we'll keep moving along and see what we get. So we're not going to take a break. We're going to go right through, Rose. So if you're going to hang on with us, this will be a fun ride. So Michelle. Okay, Michelle, listening to EWTN Radio in Lubbock, Texas, on Our Lady of Victory Radio. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for waiting, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and Rose Sweet.
Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
I have a question about my divorce. It's going to be final in a few days. I'm not going to seek an annulment, at least not in the near future. And I was wondering, when is it okay to take off my wedding ring? Because I would like to replace it with a purity chastity ring.
I get this call often, Michelle, and I'm so glad you called in. Let's go back to what the church teaches. If you choose not to seek an annulment, you are still married. And so it would be appropriate to leave your wedding ring on.
Okay.
But But here's the deal. Even if somebody decides not to seek an annulment, I hope they will educate themselves why they're not seeking an annulment, because sometimes it's emotional. They don't want to face the pain. They really believe they were married. But again, we need to submit ourselves to the expertise of the church and let them take a look at our marriage, because what if there's plenty of evidence that you were in an invalid marriage? Then that should help you make the decision to seek annulment or not seek annulment. But anyway, it should be a very informed decision, informed and thoughtful, not just emotional. And taking the wedding ring off or on, the church says nothing about that. That's totally up to you. It's what makes you feel comfortable. But certainly you can leave it on because in the eyes of the church, you're still married.
Okay. And then, the reason I'm not seeking an annulment just yet is that, somewhere down the line, if I did find somebody else, then the annulment, that process would give me time to make sure that this person truly respects my faith and even shares it, maybe.
Okay, but don't use the annulment process as the safety guard.
Oh, okay.
See, because here's the thing: if you wait too long, you might forget things. Your witnesses might not be around any longer. It gets more difficult to do this later on. I know a lot of people who finally end up doing this can't find any witnesses because they're dead. Mm-hmm. They waited so long. So, Michelle, what I would do is look into annulment more, learn more about it, get yourself really educated, and then keep praying about it and ask the Lord to say, okay, do I go, do I not go?
Yeah, because I just wanted to add, I'm sure it's implicit in what Rose, you were saying, and Debbie, I saw you reacting as well, but just for the benefit of Michelle and others, if you say you did find somebody that you wanted to enter into a relationship with, the annulment is not guaranteed. So
exactly.
You save yourself maybe a lot of additional heartache if you go down a path with someone that you think, hey, maybe this person will be the one I get married. I'll just go to the church now and seek the annulment. All of a sudden the church says, well, there was a marriage there in the first place. Then you're not free to marry again. Then what do you do? So it's
right.
It's just a kind of a dicey road to go down, Michelle. So be careful.
Well,
on that.
let me add to that too. Thanks for bringing that up. This is not fair to the other person. If she meets a new man who is a Catholic and has hopes and dreams of marrying in the church, and he finds out that she's still married and he starts dating her, mm-hmm. he is now putting himself in objectively in a state of temptation or sin, and that's never loving to do that to that man. So, we always think about what we want to do but we forget there's another person there that we need to protect their purity and their state of holiness as well.
Right. Well, and Michelle, thank you so much for bringing raising that area of divorce and annulment up with us, so we can have this conversation. And we are wishing you just a beautiful and blessed rest of your day. And our prayers are with you in your discernment of what is best for you. But Rose, I just wanted to add, I was working in the church when I was going through my separation and divorce, and so one of my coworkers, and she's probably listening right now, Laura. Who actually, she actually had a lot of training in annulments and faith formation, and there was a lot of people educating me as I was going through the separation and divorce about the healing process of annulments. So for me, it wasn't even a blink of the eye where I knew that I wanted to go through the annulment process regardless of what my future, even if I was going to go and enter the convent. It didn't matter. I was going through because I needed that the church's wisdom in this and the healing and the process. And let me tell you, it was the best process ever, because I really learned what a true sacramental marriage is all about, and I learned what my future is as a child of God. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. So I echo what you say, Rose, to get the education about it and to really make a prayerful discernment about it and not use it like as a safety guard or something later down the road, because you're right. People leave, change, die, pass on. And then what do? You have to rewind the tape, 20, 30 years back. Some people can't even remember you got married. You know?
Well, that's really the truth. And you know what? But that's what our culture does. We make our decisions today based on our emotions and not on research and education and intellect. So that's something I always want to encourage people to do. Submit yourself. There's that horrible word, submit. Submit yourself to the loving, wise mother, the church, and let her help you make a good decision regardless.
Amen. Amen. And I'm sorry for that, Jerry. I know we're racing to Ernest, and yes, we are getting Ernest in San Antonio, Texas, listening on EWTN Radio. Thank you, Ernest. You're listening online. Welcome to Take Two.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Hi, Ernest.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just fine.
Good. So I'm calling because I'm currently married. We're married in the church, but things have gradually gotten worse and worse with me and my wife, and it seems to be picking up speed as far as the degrading of our marriage, and it seems to be speeding towards a divorce. The problems that we're having. Well, let me put it this way. I don't have any problems because I'm such a passive person. I pretty much just brush off everything. And I think that's actually kind of causing further problems in my marriage because I'm
yes.
So passive. My wife is not so passive. And the issues that we're having, I'm finding very difficult to resolve because I truly and honestly don't understand, and I don't know how to fix some of these problems that my wife has with what I'm doing or not doing.
Ernest, can I ask you a question? Have you gotten into professional counseling together?
Well, we've started it, but I don't think we've ever. And I say I don't think because if you were to ask my wife, she'd say yes, we've gone. But me, I don't think we've ever actually followed through to the point where we're not to the point where we're in a good place in our marriage. We've gone enough to where we aren't arguing regularly, but we've never.
Well, and that can go on for decades, and then it blows. Finally, one person gets sick enough and they leave, and that's why we have what we call the gray divorce. The kids are all gone. There's finally enough money in the bank, and one of them says, "I'm out of here." So we can't get into your marriage on the problems on the radio, but what I would definitely say is you go get counseling if she won't go, Ernest, because you said you don't understand and you don't know. How are we supposed to fix our car engine if we never have a mechanic teach us the basics or show us how to do it, or we don't have the tools? So we all need professionals to help us, especially in our relationships. And then get a good spiritual director, somebody who can help you look at this from a Catholic perspective specifically. And I suspect with any relationship, we all bring deep, deep, unhealed stuff from our past, our childhoods, into our adult relationships. And maybe that's something that you'll need to spend some time going deeply into. If not to save this marriage, for something in the future. And so get help. Go and take initiative, Mr. Passive. You make that call to a good Catholic therapist if you can find one. And after the show, email me. I know some good ones around the country. I can maybe help you out in that regard.
Yeah, and the same goes for not only those of you on hold. The lines remain full, and we're getting near the end of the show. So if we don't get to you on the show, first of all, we're sorry about that. It pains us every day that we can't get to everybody. But go to Rose Sweet, just like it sounds, SWEET, rosesuite.com. And this goes for any of you not even calling in, but just listening wherever you are. If you have questions on these topics or putting your religion into your relationships, or if you want to bring Rose out to speak in your area, please go to rosesuite.com. We're going to go to Victoria next in New Hampshire, listening to EWTN Radio in that beautiful part of the country. Hi, Victoria. We got about a minute and a half, so we'll try and help you here and then maybe off the air through Rose's website. Go ahead.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi there. Just fine.
So I have kind of a complicated situation. I've been married for 23 years, but 3 years ago I converted to Catholicism.
We were married in the church, but we've had a very difficult relationship the whole 23 years. He finally left 2 years ago. We are not divorced, but I don't see any chance of reconciliation, even though I've been trying very hard to try to bring that together. He's always refused therapy, and he finally told me the other day that I'm way too Catholic for him now. I'm very committed to my faith, and so I'm just wondering can I initiate the divorce and then seek annulment, or I don't even know what to do at this point.
You know what, Victoria, and for everybody else, I've spent about the last 8 years or so doing a lot of work in tribunals all around the country helping people go through the annulment process. I can help you with that. I can answer all those questions. So please do contact me through my website after the show. I would love to help you, Victoria, and I will add you and everybody else on my prayer list right now.
Yeah, we had to rush that because we're getting close to the end of the show, and I have to pressure Rose Sweet to come back again, Jerry. Rose, I somewhat pressure our guests on the air if they'll come back. Will you come back again and join us?
Twist my arm, honey.
Okay.
Victoria, by the way, thanks for calling, and Marie and Joan and any others that we are just not going to have time for today. We are out of time. But Rose, again, you have a wide variety of things that you can speak about. You're in demand at conferences and parishes. Give our listeners, again, a little snapshot of what you'd love to come out and share from your heart with them.
I would love to come out and share to you, with everybody, the real meaning of life and how to be happy right here and now, even before we get to heaven. And I do that in so many of my wonderful talks. I love giving my talks because they're so encouraging and inspiring. But go to rosesweet.com and you'll find out more about me. I'd love to come to your area.
And Rose, we just love having you on Take Two. And one of the things that I love about your ministry so very much, Rose, is how you weave in humor. And I love humor, and it is amazing. So please, dear listeners, if you want to bring Rose to your parish, go to rosesweet.com. Thank you so much, Rose. Jerry?
Well, tomorrow and Friday, we've got interesting programs. Tomorrow, guys, listen up. It's for you only, for men only. We're going to ask, what is your definition of strength? And then on Friday, women only can call in. What's your definition of beauty? So, Debbie, these ought to be enlightening conversations.
I'm excited. I'm going to share what I think tomorrow. I can't wait about men. 1-800.
Boy, she's got a lot, too, folks. You really don't want to miss this.
Right. So dial the number beyond tomorrow, 1-800-585-9396. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.